We embrace unknown future with known God. Have faith and trust in God who never leaves you alone. Faith in the troubled times. Persevere. God is with you in every situation. Jesus teaches that his disciples will be persecuted as necessary prelude to the parousia. Through their perseverance, they will emerge victorious. When the Lord comes again, as we wait the day, let's conscientiously fulfill our Christian obligation. Welcome to the homily, 33rd Sunday of the Ordinary Time. Gospel comes from Luke 21, 5 to 19. The Gospel was filled with the signs of end of the world. Wars, famines, pandemics, uncertainties. We face the same uncertainties in our lives. We had this pandemic for the past 2 years, war in Russia and Ukraine, so much of economic turmoil, problem with the logistics. The gospel speaks today when Jesus returns, he will establish his kingdom. When Jesus will return, the world will come to an end, but there's a hope because our Lord will establish his kingdom. In spite of changes in our lives, we are called to persevere, to not to give up hope, but to stick on to our Lord in faith. Let's not be mistaken. The gospel talks about the great event at the end of time. What we need is just persevere in doing what we do and continuing living our Christian faith. Gospel invites us to call to keep faith and trust going in the Lord. In order to have a secure lives, what we need is the grace of God active in our lives. The signs of the end in Luke chapter 21, 5 to 19 is the Lord's sermon on his second coming. He is in the Passion Week, the week in which our Lord is crucified. On the third day, he will be betrayed. On Friday, he will be crucified by the Romans and the high priest. Therefore, it's on Wednesday, as days come, it's going to become worse. Lord speaks about the end time, his life in Jerusalem, and how the Lord will end bound up in his return to the earth in the future. But he will come back to establish the kingdom. The passage from Luke this week, Jesus delivers it in Jerusalem, close to the temple, prompted by people discussing the temple and its beauty. The temple was very beautiful. Jesus says, "As for these things which you say, the days will come when there shall not be left here one stone upon another." Of course, they asked him, when this will happen? What will be the signs be? But Jesus moves the focus from these secondary aspects. When will it be? What would it be like? To the truly important question. Firstly, not to let oneself be fooled by false prophets, false teachers, not to be paralyzed by fear and anxiety. Secondly, to live this time of expectation as a time of witness and perseverance. We are in the time of waiting in expectation of the coming of the Lord. Jesus' words are perennially relevant even for us today, living in this century, amidst war, amidst economic turmoil, amidst pandemic, so many issues, so many problems. But we wait in expectation to the coming of the Lord with hope, faith, and trust. By your patient endurance, you will gain your souls. By your perseverance, you will save your lives. We are called to enter a new world where we must or willing to persevere. But what does perseverance means? It means living one day at a time. Not to give up. It needs tremendous understanding. We cannot control the world in which we live, but we can sustain our life with faith, hope, love, and understanding. Perseverance is choosing to take one step, the next step. Every step we take, we keep the end in the mind, that God will restore its kingdom. What we need is patience. Never give up hope, but keep walking with the Lord. The temple, it will be destroyed in 40 years. This was from 30 AD. In 70 AD, but the kingdom will not come for a very long time. So Jesus takes the opportunity not to describe the destruction of Jerusalem, but describe the great destruction at the end of the age and the great restoration of Israel and the glory of coming King. The passage that follows cannot describe the destruction of Jerusalem. In the verse 10, nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. That did not happen in the destruction of Jerusalem. There will be great earthquakes, various places, plagues, famines, terrors, and great signs from heaven. That did not happen in destruction of Jerusalem. Verse 25, the signs in the sun, the moon, the stars upon the earth, dismay among the nations, perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves, men fainting from fear and expectation of the things which are coming upon the world. For the powers of heavens will be shaken, and they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. That certainly can't describe the destruction of Jerusalem. Yet there are people who believe that everything Jesus says here was fulfilled in the destruction of Jerusalem. Jesus firmly tells us not to be afraid of the upheavals in every period of history, not even in the face of the most serious trials and injustices that may befall his disciples. He asks us to persevere in the good and to place all our trust in God, who does not disappoint. Not a hair of your head and will perish. God does not forget his faithful ones. His precious possessions, he does not forget us. Let's not fear. Let's not worry what's going to come in the future, but rather focus on the living God who lives amongst us, and he will bring peace, joy, love, and hope. The end of the world scenario, wars, famines, pandemic, economic turmoil, but gospel today gives hope. We may not recognize it. We can be distracted by thinking The gospel speaks about the future, what will happen at the end time. At the time Luke wrote this passage, the temple was already destroyed. The wars and earthquakes were occurring. False teachers, false prophets were misleading the people and they were going astray. The persecution had begun. Luke was describing the crisis and turmoil of his own time. It's in those contemporary challenges that Luke calls to hope, and hope becomes clear. Luke is telling his readers or his church and us that it is in the midst of a suffering and turmoil that we cling to hope and never give up hope. In the midst of our present troubles, Christ assures us not of a hair of our head will be harmed, and by perseverance we will secure our lives. This gospel tells us to stand firm, to persevere, to hold on, and to move trusting in God. The basis of our hope is not our shrewdness, our self-confidence, that I can take control of everything, but our hope rests in our belief that God is a healer, God is a mover, and God who protects and saves us all the time. Let's persevere. God is with us in every situation. Let's not be discouraged. It's often the last key in the bunch that opens the lock. By persevering at the bottom, humble at the top. A man is not finished when he's defeated. He is finished when he quits, says Richard M. Nixon. At the time of troubles and difficulties, we are not here to quit, but rather we are here to persevere in the Lord. Let's never give up. The more we believe and trust in God, the more limitless our possibilities become for our family, for our life, and for our society. Faith is all the more trusting God even when we don't understand His plan. None of us knows what might happen even the next minute, yet still we go forward because we trust, because we have faith in God. In spite of troubles and difficulties, it is not about what's going to come in the future, but how we embrace our unknown future with the known God. It gives us tremendous confidence in the Lord. The challenges will come to us, but when we trust in God, we will be strengthened by our faith. All we need is faith, trust, and hope in the Lord. Every difficulty we face, in every waiting place, we are being given the chance to trust in the things unseen and to be abundantly blessed, says Cherry Hill. May we believe, may we have faith, may we have trust, may we keep the right attitude. If we are grateful, we will see God open to us new possibilities, new doors, and new life. Never give up. The Gospel offers three prophetic visions of Parousia, which means second coming. The first prophecy about the destruction of the temple by the Romans in year 70. Jesus wants the people not to listen to false teachers who claim to be Messiah or to know exactly when Christ would come again. The second prophecy describes the wars, earthquakes, famines, and the heavenly signs that will signal the coming day of the Lord. These descriptions are straight out of apocalyptic literature. But the absence of these signs that told Paul the day of the Lord had not yet come yet. The third prophecy involves Christian persecution at the hands of the Jews and the Romans, and betrayal by families and friends. While frightening, Jesus points out, this is also an opportunity to give witness and promise that He will give the words needed for such a testimony. Many countries are fortunate they don't have any more persecutions. People don't suffer anymore for Christ. But what is for us today is to persevere, to keep the faith, to keep the trust and hope in the Lord, to move forward, because God is with us in every situation. Amid so many penultimate and passing realities, the Lord wants to remind us today of what is ultimate, what will remain forever. His love for God is love. May the Virgin Mary, through maternal intercession, sustain our daily journey of faith, following the Lord who guides history. We embrace a known future with known God. Have faith and trust in God who never leaves you alone. Let's maintain faith in the troubled times. Faith in the troubled times. We face troubles in the world, but we never give up. At the end, Jesus makes a promise which is a guarantee of victory. By your endurance, you will gain your lives. There's so much hope in these words. They are a call to hope and patience, to be able to wait for certain fruits of salvation, trusting in profound meaning of life and of history. The trials and difficulties are part of a bigger picture. The Lord of history, leads all to fulfillment. Despite the turmoil and disasters that upset the world, God's design of goodness and mercy will be fulfilled. And this is our hope. Go forward on this path in God's plan, which will be fulfilled. This is our Pope, says Pope Francis. Luke chapter 21 verse 19. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives.